I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any, it's 8 for 5. 8 for 5. Do we have any new people here? Raise your hand and just tell us your street. Any newcomers? Okay. Stan's here, Chris is here, Dean's excused, Mike's excused. Ed's here. Ed's here. The minutes are attached. If someone needs to make a change, come see us. Otherwise, Chris, you make a motion to accept the minutes?
I'm good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Nothing to report. On the table there is a pad for signing in. Make sure that your most current email address is with us in case we have to cancel a meeting or notify you of anything. I know this year we canceled January's meeting because of weather and May's meeting because of the Sabres, and we sent out emails to everybody, so make sure we have your most current email on file. And I would just make a habit of maybe half an hour before you leave or right when you leave, just check your emails in case something comes up. We do try to notify the news if we know ahead of time, but email is the prime way of notifying people if there's a change or a cancellation. Do you want to, is Gary here yet?
Yeah.
I didn't, right there. Oh, okay. Gary Parks, our town historian. It's all yours, buddy.
Take care of some business that I dropped off. I gave you my card. Hope everyone got one. If you ever need to get any information about the town or any of the history of the town, you can always get a hold of me. I'm in the office on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Otherwise, you can reach me at home, text me, or send me an email, whatever's more convenient for you. I also left a brochure of what we're going to be discussing today, which is the historic development of the town of Cheektowaga from 1650 to 1900. We're going to talk about the first 250 years. And then I also gave you a copy of the brochure, which is this year's brochure for the Town Historic Museum. We're always looking for people to come to our events. I guess the next event is going to be in September. And if anybody remembers Glen Park, we're going to have somebody there to speak on Glen Park. So that might be interesting to some people. Hopefully we'll see you there. It's our program is held right here on the 15th. So right now we're going to talk about the historic development of the town of Cheektowaga. When people think of the town of Cheektowaga today, in this, the 250th year of our country's independence, they often picture busy roads, established neighborhoods, churches, schools, and a steady stream of suburban life on the eastern edge of the city of Buffalo. Yet long before highways, railroads, residential development transformed the landscape, this land was part of a much older story, one rooted in tradition, settlements, and the way of life of the Seneca Nation and the broader Haudenosaunee Confederacy. The history of Cheektowaga begins centuries before the arrival of permanent European settlers. It is a story of indigenous homeland, frontier conflicts, land transfers, pioneer settlement, immigration, transportation, agriculture, and community building. By understanding these layers of history, we gain a deeper appreciation of how Cheektowaga emerged from a forested frontier into one of Erie County's most important communities. Let me see. So, indigenous foundations and the Seneca homeland. Long before the creation of the United States, even New York State, the land that would become Cheektowaga was part of the ancestral homeland of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, specifically the Seneca Nation. The Senecas are one of the original 5 nations of the Haudenosaunee, also known as the Iroquois Confederacy, a sophisticated political, cultural alliance that predated European contact by many centuries. The Seneca Nation, known as the Keepers of the Western Door, maintained a network of villages, agricultural fields, hunting grounds, and trade routes across western New York. The land was not unused or empty, as later colonial narratives sometimes suggested, but actively managed, integrated into seasonal cycles of farming, hunting, and fishing. The region contained fertile soil, abundant forests, waterways that supported indigenous communities for generations. Historic records and archaeological evidence, along with oral traditions associated with portions of present-day Cheektowaga, associate part of the present-day Cheektowaga with significant native settlements connecting the Buffalo Creek and Cayuga Creek corridors. Among the most notable was Gaspa Sada, often loosely translated as Falls Village. Accounts place this important Seneca settlement near Cayuga Creek in what is now central Cheektowaga. While the exact boundaries of this village cannot be firmly established with certainty, evidence suggests that it occupied a substantial area along the banks of the Cayuga Creek in the approximate area from Borden Road to Union Roads near William Street. The very name Cheektowaga preserved this indigenous heritage. The name generally traced back to the Erie Seneca phrase, commonly rendered as Cheektowaga, often translated into land of crab apples. Linguistically, and other interpretations vary slightly in their spelling and pronunciation across the historical records. But the connection to crabapple trees is consistently noted in all local historical scholarship. For centuries, Seneca families cultivated corn, beans, and squash in the fertile lands surrounding Buffalo Creek and Cayuga Creek and their little tributaries. Extensive trade networks connected western New York to communities throughout the Great Lakes, while diplomacy and alliances helped shape the political landscape of northeastern North America. Revolution era and the transformation of Western New York. By mid-17th century, European influence began to affect life in Western New York. French traders entered the region through the fur trade routes, and British and Dutch interests competed for economic and political influence. Despite these developments, this area would retain an overwhelmingly indigenous, would be overwhelmingly indigenous through the 18th century. The American Revolution dramatically altered this reality. For most of the Seneca nations, they allied with the British Crown during this conflict. Many native leaders believed that the British authorities would be far greater in protecting them against colonial expansion than would the newly independent United States. As a result, Western New York became a major theater in the frontier war that accompanied the revolution, as many raids, counter-raids, and military expeditions brought widespread destruction to both native villages and those outlying settlements. The Treaty of Paris in 1783, which ended the war, transferred most of the control of the territory to the newly formed United States. However, this transfer did not immediately equate into complete American control. The Senecas retained a significant presence and authority in the region under a series of treaties and land negotiations. By the 18th century, the land that would become Cheektowaga was still undeveloped from European and American cultural standpoint, and it remained part of the broader Seneca homeland, though increasing pressure from land speculators was beginning to reshape the political and geographical stance in Western New York. Sorry. Land transfers and the opening of Western New York. One of the most important developments occurred in 1786 with the Treaty of Hartford, which resolved the competing land claims between New York State and Massachusetts. Under this agreement, New York retained governmental authority over the western lands, while Massachusetts acquired the right to purchase indigenous land titles. Massachusetts then subsequently sold those rights to Philadelphia land speculators, including such people as Oliver Phelps and Nathaniel Gortham. Later, much of Western New York came under the control of the Holland Land Company, a consortium of Dutch investors seeking to profit from land sales and settlement in the area. A central figure in this process was Joseph Ellicott, who became the Holland Land Company's principal surveyor and land agent in 1797. Between 97 and 1800, Ellicott supervised the surveying of approximately 3.25 million acres of Western New York. His work established boundaries, road alignments, and settlement patterns that continue to influence the region today. Also in 1797, representatives of the Holland Land Company participated in the negotiation that culminated in the Treaty of Big Tree at present-day Geneseo. Under this treaty, the Seneca Nation ceded most of its remaining claims to Western New York lands while retaining several reservations, including the Buffalo Creek Reservation. The Buffalo Creek Reservation encompassed lands extending into portions of present-day Buffalo, Cheektowaga, West Seneca, and other neighboring communities. For decades afterwards, it remained a vital center for the Seneca's life and cultural events, and governments. Nevertheless, increasing pressure from land speculators, settlers, and government officials continued throughout the first half of the 19th century, thus forcing the indigenous Seneca Nation further west. Counties, towns, formation of local government. As settlements expanded, New York State repeatedly reorganized Western New York's governmental structure. In 1802, Genesee County was created from the lands west of the Genesee River all the way to the Great Lakes. This area encompassed vast territories, including much of Western New York. As population increased, new counties and towns were carved from the original jurisdiction. In 1808, Niagara County was established along with Cheektowaga County, Cattaraugus, from the western portion of Genesee County. Later, in 1821, Erie County was formed from the southern portion of Niagara County. The area that would eventually become Cheektowaga was originally part of the town of Clarence, which covered a large portion of present-day Erie County, with Erie County being officially established, Buffalo emerged as the central hub of the urban society. Pioneer settlements and agricultural development. Permanent European American settlement in the future town of Cheektowaga began slowly during the early 19th century. The first documented permanent settler is generally recognized as Apollos Hitchcock, who arrived here in 1808. Like many pioneers entering Western New York, Hitchcock sought agricultural opportunities on these newly available lands. Life for these early settlers was challenging. The land was fertile, but heavily forested. Clearing fields required years of labor, and the roads were merely nothing more than trails that were cut through the wilderness. Additional settlers soon followed. German immigrants became especially influential in shaping the community's early character. Drawn by farmlands and economic opportunity, they established farms, churches, schools, businesses that would become the foundation for local life. By 1820 and 30, farms, mills, taverns, schools, churches were all appearing throughout the area. Agriculture quickly emerged as a dominant economic activity. The farmers of the area cultivated wheat, barley, oats, corn, and potatoes while raising dairy and other livestock. The relatively level terrain of the area and productive soil helped make Cheektowaga one of Erie County's important agricultural communities at the time. Transportation and networks, and the growth of hamlets. Transportation improvements played a critical role in the town's development. The opening of the Erie Canal in 1825 transformed Buffalo into one of the nation's most important transportation centers. Farmers in the surrounding countryside gained access to markets that previously were difficult or impossible to reach efficiently. Several major roads became essential for transportation corridors, including Broadway, Genesee, Walden, and Clinton. These routes connected Buffalo with the rural settlements and emerging communities throughout Erie County. As travel and commerce increased, small hamlets began to develop along the transportation corridors. Forks, located along Broadway near important crossroads, became one of the area's earliest commercial centers and a frequent stop for travelers. Pine Hill developed near the intersection of Genesee and Harlem roads, becoming associated with educational institutions, residential development, and agricultural activity. Bellevue emerged near Union Road, and the Cayuga Creek area, which later benefited from railroad connections and nearby commercial activity. Other small settlements developed around crossroads, schools, churches, and railroad depots throughout the town. These hamlets served as gathering places and residents providing commercial services, religious institutions, educational opportunities, and social interaction for the surrounding farming districts. The creation of the town of Cheektowaga. As the population growth continued, residents sought a more localized form of government. On March 22nd, 1839, the New York State Legislature officially created the town of Cheektowaga from a portion of Amherst. Less than a month later, on April 16, 1839, the first town meeting was held in the home of Nathaniel Bennett on Walden Avenue, just east of Harlem Road. That meeting marked the beginning of the municipal government organized within the new town. Alexander Hitchcock, son of the pioneer settler Apollos Hitchcock, became the town's first supervisor, and Nathaniel Bennett, the town's assessor, postmaster, and commissioner of highways. Then it was called the town's pathmaster. Other prominent and early civic leaders included members of the Ely, the Green, Vaughn, Warner, Jenkins, Beach, Schumerman, and Hanson families. These officials helped establish roads, schools, the taxation system, and public institutions necessary for local government. Cheektowaga in 1839 remained largely rural. Forests still covered the significant portions of the landscape, and farming dominated everyday life. Nevertheless, the foundations of a permanent community had been firmly established. Railroads, immigration, and community growth. Transportation improvements continued throughout the 19th century. Beginning in the 1840s, accelerating through the 1880s, railroad expansion transformed western New York. Railroad lines connected Buffalo with Albany, New York City, and the rapidly growing Midwest. Railroad routes crossed Cheektowaga and encouraged growth and commercial centers throughout the town. By the late 19th century, municipal stations and freight facilities served residents and businesses, making it easier for farmers and merchants to move goods regionally and nationally across the nation. The railroads also encouraged population growth. As German immigrants continued to play a dominant role in the town's development throughout much of the early 19th century, their language, agricultural practices, religious traditions, and social organizations became largely woven into Cheektowaga's cultural identity. By the late 19th century, increasing numbers of Polish immigrants began settling on Buffalo's Lower East Side and gradually expanded into the portions of Cheektowaga. This was caused by employment opportunities in Buffalo's growing industrial and economic development, which encouraged its migration. Religious institutions became central to immigration societies. Among the earliest Catholic institutions in the town of Cheektowaga was Our Lady Help of Christians, which was located on Union Road and Genesee Street. The original church was dedicated in 1853 and served German Catholic families throughout the surrounding rural area. Another important development occurred in 1888 when Dean John Pitas of St. Stanislaus Parish in the city of Buffalo, sought land for a Polish Catholic cemetery. His efforts ultimately culminated in and contributed to the establishment of other religious institutions that would play a significant role in the area's growing Polish American community, including what would later become St. John Gualbert's Parish. Buffalo politics and the urban family. By the late 19th century, Buffalo had become one of America's leading industrial cities. Its economic growth increasingly influenced not only the nation, but also the surrounding communities, including that of Cheektowaga. Improved transportation and expanding wealth encouraged some of Buffalo's prominent families to establish country estates and recreational properties beyond the city's boundaries. Among the most notable were the members of the urban Winspear family, who became associated with local business interests, agriculture, and the Democratic political circles in Erie County. Historical records connect members of the urban family to influential Democratic networks active during the political rise of Grover Cleveland, who served as governor of New York State before becoming president of the United States in 1885 and again in 1893. While the extent of their influence on Cleveland's political career is difficult to measure precisely, the family was clearly active within the political environment that contributed to his ascent. The urban family also maintained a substantial estate along Pine Ridge Road and a nearby gathering ground that became associated with horse racing and social outings during the Gilded Age. These developments reflected the growth influence of Buffalo's economic and political elite within the surrounding countryside. In conclusion, by 1900, the foundation of modern Cheektowaga had been firmly established. Railroads, roads, farms, churches, schools, businesses, and hamlets connected the town to the city of Buffalo while preserving its own distinct identity. German, Polish, Irish, and other immigrant families transformed the landscape through their labor and through their institutions. They created parishes, schools, fraternal organizations, charitable societies, and community associations. Yet the history of Cheektowaga is larger than the history of any single municipality. It is the story of an indigenous homeland, revolutionary conflict, contested land transfers, frontier settlements, immigration, transportation, faith, and community building. It reflects many of the broader themes of American history while remaining deeply rooted in the people and places of Western New York. As the 20th century approached, Cheektowaga stood poised for another transformation from a prosperous agricultural town to one of Erie County's most important suburban and immigrant communities. So ends this chapter of the town's rich history and development. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Here are some interesting stories about Cheektowaga and the prohibition from playing years. I heard it was Wild West out here for that.
I'm going to cover that in my next portion of the historic value of the town, but this was a highly area that was, I want to say, as far as the bootleggers and the gangs that were in the city of Buffalo during the 20s, like the Big Corny Gang and whatnot, they used to take those people that they disposed of, brought them out here, and put them into the pig farms, because it is known that pigs just eat anything, and those bodies were disposed of completely. But that's for another story.
Thank you, sir.
We had a little session on Dan Weber too. And it's,
Well, I think that is part of our history, so that unfortunate time, we will get into.
all right, thank you.
All right, you have a wonderful rest of the day, everybody, and I thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Okay, before we get to Officer Paul, anybody got any questions or anything they want to bring up under old business? Okay, National Night Out is what, August 4th? Let me see here.
August 4th.
August 4th. There will be no meeting in August. We encourage everybody to attend the festivities August 4th, and Paul will bring up some more details when he brings up the National Night Out discussion. So Paul, it's all yours. It doesn't work at all.
All right, real quick, under concerns of the police department, continue to lock your stuff up. The bad guys are still looking for unlocked cars. They're not breaking windows yet, so please keep locking your cars up, and it gets them to go down the street. Hopefully they don't find anything and they go find some other town to mess around in. National Night Out is November 4th. August 4th, there we go. November 4th, I will be here. August 4th, the event's going to be from 5 to 8. 5 to 8, and then we're having a movie for the kids. I will email the flyer probably tomorrow when I email the Sentinel. It's a retro night. We're going back to the 90s when National Night Out started. My partner said we should probably go old because Paul is now old. And we're going back to the 90s, so we're going to do Toy Story, as that was a movie that came out in the 90s, 30 years ago. And we'll do that with the kids after dusk. We've got the popcorn all lined up for that. We're doing a hot dog, something with hot dogs. You know, the first bunch of people that come will get some hot dogs and chips and a drink. And we're doing a bike rodeo for the kids because those seem to be pretty popular back in the 90s. There's a possibility we might have a DJ during our National Night Out, and that's about it. We're just starting to put all that together, so I will send out the flyer tomorrow for that, as well as the Sentinel, that you have a copy of it, a hard copy here. Any questions?
Town Park? Is that Town Park?
Yeah, it's Town Park.
What if, these smoking fires and stuff, what if the weather is kind of crazy?
For National Night Out?
Yeah.
If it gets too crazy, we just cancel it. Yeah, we'll put it on at 2 parks on our normal venues. If it's too crazy, if you think it's too bad to come out.
Because they're saying it's iffy.
What's that?
They're saying, it's possible, we got.
Well, I don't know, we're still, what's the, we're still 2 weeks away, so
Yeah.
let's worry about that as we get closer. If we're gonna cancel it, we'll for sure get it out to everybody.
Okay.
All right? Set. We have a winner?
I just want to add one thing to Paul's comment about,
Oh, also,
go ahead.
I need about 5 people to help on National Night Out. I would need you there about 4 o'clock to help us sell tickets. I only need 5 people, so I don't need a long list of people. I know Stan and Mrs. Kaznowski are 2 of them. So if I get 3 more people, that'll be plenty of help for this year's event.
Okay, I just want to add one more point from a safety standpoint. If you're out in the backyard doing some gardening or relaxing, don't leave your front door open, okay? You'd be surprised on how these individuals, people, lowlifes, watch and drive down people's streets looking to see what front doors are open. So don't take it for granted. If you're in the back, close your front door, maybe your front windows. I always tell my wife, don't be scared, just be vigilant, okay? We have a very safe town, but the bad guys take advantage of opportunities, okay? And crime travels, all right? Tell you a little story. My buddy lived in, at that time it was Tyrunda, and his business grew to the point where he moved out to Holland, New York. And he always used to kid me, he says, Stan, why don't you get out of that area that, you know, Tyrunda's run down, and, you know, Cheektowaga is, and he was very biased, okay? Well, he moved to Holland. Within 2 months, his house got robbed. He lost $10,000 worth of jewelry and other things. And I walked over and I says, Mike, crime travels. I says, you have to not make it opportunistic, because what they were doing was they were casing his house. His wife and him would leave at the same time. They knew the house was empty. He lived in a rural area amongst Holland, the big homes out there, and they ripped them off. So just be vigilant. Don't take things for granted. There's a thing in the Sentinel about cameras and getting the rings ripped off the front door. Just put a camera in your window. For a few extra bucks, it's amazing how the lowlifes, if they see a camera, there's too many other homes for them to go after yours unless they see something very enticing, okay? The other thing is your front door, or the door that you go in every day, every night, every morning you leave, make sure it's not covered with bushes and stuff, okay? A number of years ago, there was a bunch of home invasions off of William Street. I don't know if you remember. Pretty serious. One of the homes that they broke into, the side door that the people use every day, was covered with bushes. All they did was hide the bushes, and when the poor people came home, knocked them over the head, went inside the house and terrorized them. So, you know, make sure the entrance that you use every day isn't covered. Make sure there's a light on it, okay? You can get very cheap light activated lights, just put them above. I mean, times are changing, but Cheektowaga is still a very safe town. I look at the crime stats, but you have to become more vigilant as time goes on. So if you know a neighbor, looking at them. I worked during the last blizzard during Christmas. I visited my neighbor's house across the street as I tried to make through 4 feet of snow, and that's when the power was out during Christmas. And they were shivering, so I took them sleeping bags. So try to hook up with a fellow neighbor, all right? I mean, even today, times are changing. You know, the young kids nowadays, they don't socialize. And, you know, if you have a young kid next door, it's difficult. Reach out to them. If you have a old timer like yourself next door, make sure you know each other, okay? You know, the old times were good. The neighbors would look out for each other. So just be vigilant. When you're shopping, don't carry a whole wad of money with you, all right? You know, if you're gonna go shopping, just keep a couple 20s on you to whatever you're gonna buy, or just keep enough, because they watch your purses, okay? I Again, it's snatch and grab, it's opportunity. They'll walk down your street at 3 o'clock in the morning trying all the car doors. All right? Most of the carjackings, the people are stupid enough to leave their cars open, and I'm sorry, they're stupid if they leave their car unlocked because they give an opportunity to someone. If you have the opportunity to pull your car off the street, put it into your driveway, okay? They're too lazy to walk up to your driveway and check your car door. They'd rather just go down the middle and check all the cars that are parked along the curb. So those little things matter. If your street light's burned out, call the town. Street lights are important on your street, okay? So, again, with the hot weather, people want to keep their windows open. You know, it's a tough choice if, you know, between being safe and keeping your window open for some cool air. So, any questions before the 50-50? Any last questions before we end? All right, thank you, everyone. Have a safe night. We'll see you in September.